the edges, it's made quite a difference. It's looking much better. Yeah, so actually I like that. I might actually go up to 1 on both of them and turn them on. They're looking a lot better now. So that's cool. And I'll turn the edges on. So that's that. That's all good. Now let's sort out this guy's shadow. Let's go back into Maya on the skin layer, which is this one here. I'm just going to unhide the plane oh, sorry, I need to be organized here. Let's go layer, copy layer, and where did that go? Skin 1. Let's call this shadow. Move down, and on this particular layer I want to hide, so actually I want to duplicate the man, call this man shadow. I want to actually hide the original man, so I only have one man, and on this particular layer I want to unhide the plane. And for the render settings for this layer, I want to be rendering frames 1 to 90, which is all of the starting frames where the shadow needs to be applied. And I should go to the use background and to the hypershade, and actually click on this. After Effects has just crashed. Great. I don't know why, but making changes in Maya often causes my After Effects to crash. Maybe they like each other that much. So I'll just sort this out and I'll see you soon. Lucky I had autosave. Alright, so let's get back to what we're going to do. I was going to duplicate this shading network. There's a duplicate shading network for the use background, and this one will be the shadow, and this one will be the reflection. So for the shadow, this is the one that I want to use on this layer here, the render layer shadow, and I'll apply that to here. And this shadow material here will be exactly the same as the reflection, just no reflectivity. And let's do a quick test render for the shadow. And this is what we're getting, and we should probably change the alpha of the background back to 0. Not sure why I had it set to 1. And also we don't need the primary, we don't need to render this character here. So under render stats for the man shadow, I don't want primary visibility, but I do want him to cast shadows. I don't need him to receive shadows. So let's render this again. We're not getting anything. And the reason for that is these were both turned off, so I'm going to let this receive shadows. And let me re-render this. And go into here, and we can see that we're getting that effect that we want. Sorry, I've just re-enabled the reflection, so I'll change that. And here we have it, just the shadows on their own. So we need to render that from frame 1 to 90. So yep, that's enabled. And let's copy this shadow layer here. Layer, copy layer. And it's called shadow 2. Call this reflection. And I want to just do the opposite on this particular layer. So on this layer here, reflection, I want to only have my reflection. And let's do a render here and see what happens. We're getting both the shadow and the reflection, so I'll just click on this here. And under the render stats, I will uncheck receive shadows. So on this layer, when I render it, I'm just getting this faint reflection here, and on this layer, the shadow layer, I'm just getting a shadow. And let's make sure these are the only two checked to render. And that's good, so let's batch render these. Okay, those are finished rendering, so let's just drag our shadow in here, just on top of the footage. And that's nice. And let's fade it out when he dissolves. So around here, might start altering the opacity, and hit R to go to where it ends, and change that to 0. And let's just preview this. I kind of don't want it to draw much attention to itself. Kind of want the people to be looking at the character when he transitions. I might actually go right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease, and that way it'll sort of transition off quicker as it nears the end. I don't think people will be looking at the shadow too much if it's there from the very start like it is here. Yep, that looks pretty good. I think it needs to come off a little earlier. And also we don't need this displacement to be happening all this time, because we can actually see it through here. So let's actually duplicate the footage, call this footage clean, and this won't have any displacement maps. It will have the levels on it, but no displacement maps. And pretty much at the 50 frame mark, I'll set the opacity from 0, and about this stage it'll be 100%. Might need to go a little earlier. No, that seems fine. So this way we don't have it underneath all the time. And let me preview this. I think the shadow needs to come off a little earlier. Sort of needs to we add a levels adjustment here. If I let's see what happens. Pretty much nothing. Maybe I'll easy ease this and see what happens. Yeah, that's what I want. I want it to start off a little bit slow and then get quicker, and that's looking much better. And now let's add our reflection in here. Right, here you are. It would appear that our reflection didn't make the plane big enough. We'll have to fix that. Let's go back into my on this reflection layer. Let's grab these. Actually, let's do it properly. Let's go to a part where we can see further on, and I'll just drag these out. Cool. Now it also looked way too dark, so let's just see what's going on the reflection. And the render sets this will cast shadows. I don't want it to cast shadows. I just want the reflection. I do want don't want primary visibility. It says primary visibility, this needs to not, it doesn't receive shadows. Let me see. The shadows appear very dark. We'll go to the reflection material, and I'll increase the reflectivity to around 0.6, and we can change the opacity of that inside of After Effects. And I'll just batch render the reflection. I don't need the shadow. So batch render stuff. Alright, I re-imported the reflection, so I'll put that under here. And here it is. Might just set this to add. Maybe screen or lighten. Which one looks best? Not getting anything from lighten. Maybe screen. And what I might do is just create a basic mask around it and feather it. Oops, not expand. Feather. And that's the lazy way of doing it. It should actually have a loom that or something to tell you where to fade it off, but this will do the trick just fine. And also this should probably be, it should have the same opacity keyframes as this, but it should start at maybe 70% and then go to 0. I'll easy use these. Actually, it should be 70%, but it should be static at 70%. Then pre-composed reflection carry through its transparency, and then go from 100 to 0, and then oops, not keyframe velocity. That was just an easy ease. Cool. That's only a very subtle difference, but it's noticeable. Alright, so we should probably add the ambient occlusion because it's not really getting the proper shadow between his feet and the board. So let's go back into Maya. I'll go to the ambient occlusion layer here, and I'll copy this layer. Ambient occlusion, I'll call this ambient occlusion base, and I want in the outliner, I want the plane on here. So on the plane, add selected objects. This will be the one I want to render. And what I want to do is add the on this render layer, I'd like to add the ambient occlusion. So where is it? In the hypershade. Where are you? This one here. I should probably call this ambient occlusion, so organized. And I'll apply it to that layer there. And I've already got the ambient occlusion for this character, so I don't want primary visibility, but I do want him to cast the shadow. So let's just render this, see what we get. That's what we want. And just check that it has the correct 1 to 90 correctly override. Alright, that's what we want. And batch render. Alright, here's the ambient occlusion base, and let's just put this below the footage and set it to multiply. And that's a bit of a problem. Just go into the levels adjustment. Should have had that a bit further or changed the spread in minor. And let me just brighten that up so we don't notice that edge. Slightly affecting it here, but that's okay. And I'm definitely glad I have it. Let's grab these same opacity settings here, paste them on here. That looks great. Okay, so we've pretty much finished the from start to finish on the first transition, and pretty much transitioning him from invisible back to his naked self is exactly the same process, just in reverse. So I won't need to be going over that, considering this has already been a very long tutorial. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll see you when I'm finished. Alright, I've pretty much finished the effect. I've gone ahead and done the second transition, and something a little bit different that I did with the end transition is I actually I got the back his back half to actually transition 10 frames earlier than the rest of him, so it kind of gives a bit more of a sense of depth. So yeah, something I thought I'd experiment with, and I think it turns out quite nicely. I've also added some color correction and some grain to match the footage, which I've recorded a tutorial for A-Tuts if you want to check that out. Hopefully it'll be published by the time this is published. And also added some sound effects. So let's take a look at the final result. I'm pretty happy with it. There was a little bit of a glitch with the match move at the end. You might have noticed it, and so that's something I've learned, to make sure you always check your match move and that it's solid all the way through to the very end, because it's too late to change it now. So I hope you've learned something and enjoyed this tutorial. I'm James Whiffen, and look for me on YouTube as James Whiffen VFX.